Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Uterine here on Twitch. We're your host, VNA from Safety Choose and Gail from How to Use Abortion Pill. And today we have a really great conversation because when we're talking about making abortions accessible, this often remains within advocacy circles, and we struggle to reach a bigger and broader public. But abortion, as you know, is healthcare, and widespread support is crucial to ensuring safe and accessible options for everyone. So today we're joined by a very special guest, My Voice, My Choice, which is a powerful collective dedicated to advancing reproductive rights. So, as I said, we have our guest from My Voice, My Choice. Gals, could you please introduce yourselves to our audience? Your names, your occupations, what's your favorite thing to do, and just anything you'd like to share about My Voice, My Choice.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Lucia. I've been working at My Voice, My Choice since August, and I'm a digital graphic design lead, which basically means that I make most of the posts and I design stuff, and that's also my favorite thing. So, the people that aren't so well known, so they don't know so much about My Voice, My Choice, it's a European Citizens Initiative, which aims to gather 1 million signatures for safe and accessible abortion, and that proposal will then be like sent to the European Commission and then to the Parliament, so the European Union actually votes on it. It's like really small and condensed, and yeah.
I'm Jerza. I'm also in the communications team as Lucia. I'm also doing all the posts you see on social media, and I joined the My Voice, My Choice movement in last year in July.
That's perfect. No, and like we were saying this off screen, but we really admire everything that My Voice, My Choice does. It stands out so much amongst all of the abortion organizations because of the passion and the power that you have in it. And honestly, I'm really happy that we're basically all from comms marketing design because I feel like I love comms, so we love having more communications and designs queen here. So just to get ourselves started, um, we want to know, what is abortion advocacy for you and why is it crucial for reproductive rights? I don't know which one of you would like to begin, but what do you think about this question?
So for us, abortion advocacy is actually about defending reproductive rights and a person's fundamental right to choose what happens to their body and what's actually best for their body. And you don't have to be actually an official advocate to make a difference. You just have to, for us, you just have to speak to people. And actually, we can be all advocates. Every time we engage in conversations, every time we speak to other people, to our friends, to our family, and people we meet, we can be advocates. If we talk about things that are important, like abortion access. And yeah, we, speak to them why it matters and why is it important and why is it necessary, and we're advocating. So My Voice, My Choice movement is actually a movement of individuals who advocate for the cause by speaking, to people, whether it's on social media, whether it's to their friends, family, to the other communities. And this movement is very important because it brings issues that are often silenced or shamed in the media, like abortion is sometimes, into the spotlight. And it's actually not just about collecting signatures, as we did. We needed to collect 1 million, at least 1 million signatures for the mission. It's also about creating a more accepting, equal world for everyone.
No, that's really great. Lucia, do you have anything that you would like to add to her powerful answer? No?
Her answer was really powerful. I
Perfect.
pretty much agree. For me, also, the personal aspect of advocacy is key because so often we think of advocacy as this formal kind of thing, but in reality, we're all advocates advocating every single moment of our life. And it's important for us also to use our own voice and not just leave it to the advocacy groups.
No, that's perfect. And something that Gail and I often talk about is that I think once we began working in an abortion space, we already considered ourselves, pro-choice and pro-reproductive rights. And then we realized that we still had so much growth and so much things that we needed to learn. So I think also abortion advocacy kind of comes in steps. Any kind of advocacy comes in steps. You learn first, you approach it either with practice or theoretically, and then like both of you mentioned, just speaking about it, sharing a story, sharing some news, talking about it with your family. That's a great way of advocating, even if somebody doesn't actually classify themselves as an advocate. And you, Gail, why do you think this is crucial for reproductive rights?
I think it's important because, like we always say, women and our health and our rights is always deprioritized. I mean, when you look at the world, when you look at the policies that are being made, when you look at just structures that are put in place for people in general and what is dedicated to women, it's lacking. So the more we speak about it, the more we are talking about it, the more we are asking other people to add their voices to our very, loud but singular voices. I think it just becomes more pertinent for the powers that be. I know they tend to like really ignore us and just go ahead and do whatever, but as long as we have voices, it's important that we use it for them to know that we are not just going to sit there, we are not just going to lie there and take whatever they dish to us just because we still have voices. And I really like that everyone brought up the point about you don't have to have like an official position or anything to call yourself an advocate, because I feel like sometimes some people think, oh, if I'm not on social media talking about it, if I'm not like a community advocate going house to house to tell people about reproductive rights, I cannot call myself an advocate. It's not, it doesn't have to be this grand gesture, you know. I mean, for those of us who have found ourselves in a space and we have the resources to do it, great. But it's just about having a conversation with the next person, with somebody sitting next to you. It's about letting them know like your thoughts, letting them know what the facts actually are about reproductive rights and women's health, women's sexual health. So it's just about talking. As long as you are talking about it, as long as you believe that women deserve bodily autonomy, you are an advocate. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. So just for anybody out there listening, as long as you are pro-choice, as long as you believe that women should have bodily autonomy, and even if you have just once in a while conversations trying to let other people know that we deserve to have these rights, you are an advocate.
And it's funny because sometimes I
Yeah,
think we
exactly.
think about advocacy kind of like in a very strict way. Maybe we think like, oh, I need to do paperwork, like a title, the official title that says abortion advocate, and realistically, we're not going to get those papers, or like our ID is not going to say like VNA Estrada abortion advocate. So sometimes we have to claim the title because that's what we are, and that's perfectly fine. Now this kind of ties into the next question I had, which was why does the conversation around abortion accessibility often only stay within the advocacy circles? So I don't know if Jerka, Lucia, do you have any comments on this? Why do you think that it remains in these circles?
Yeah, I can answer, and that's linked to what Tirsa said. Like these pro-choice groups, pro-choice, pro-life groups have created an environment where people think it's really difficult to talk about abortion, reproductive rights with strangers. But that's simply not the fact, because at least in Europe, 70% of the public supports abortion. That means that we can like basically meet anyone, and there's a high chance that they will agree with us. And they also very often try to separate us and say this is a left or a right issue. But the reality is that abortion isn't a divisive topic. And many, many, many people agree that we should have the freedom to choose. And that's also the thing that kind of sticks in the advocacy circles. Like, we're really afraid to talk to strangers when that shouldn't be the fact. And we have a social media example, and that is that we often stay in our bubbles. And one example of that was Kevin. He was like a cooking channel, and he's privately supported us very much. And that was also the case with many influencers who reached out. They were like, we support reproductive rights, but we don't want to speak about it because it doesn't fit our content. He was really scared, but then we were like, okay, but why don't you just try? And together we created a video that didn't differ much from his original content. He was still cooking and talking. And what surprised us the most is that people supported him, and people like really resonated with the cause. And I think that we just have to burst our bubble, and we will see that more and more people support us. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's really
And
true. Please go ahead.
Your judgment and staying inside of your comfort zone is actually natural. We all know that, but it's also what holds us back from achieving things, you know. And speaking out often reveals that you're actually not alone. You can get friends, you can get people who support you, who support this cause, and many people, you know, may want to speak out. They're just afraid to do it.
Yeah, of course. And I think also abortion is it's a very special case, because I think if you haven't had an abortion, a lot of people might think, well, why would I talk about something that has never happened to me? But then you have the other spectrum of, I've had an abortion. I don't want to talk about this because I fear stigma and scrutiny. So either way, there's kind of this perception that you're going to be stigmatized and you're going to be judged by it, which is why I think it's so important that even if you're not in the advocacy circle, you speak about abortions, because it is something that happens. It's part of healthcare. It's part of women's health or pregnant people's health, and it's something that can happen to anyone. Or somebody you love might have had an abortion, could have an abortion. It might be something significant in their lives. It might be something that just happened and, you know, they go about it. But that's why we have to talk about it. And I've shared this before on this Twitch stream that, you know, I'm very open about my work that I do and my beliefs at home and with my friends. And that has led to people opening up to me and be like, oh, I had an abortion, or I had a miscarriage, or this happened to, like, with my mom or my friends. And these are conversations that had never happened until I openly said that I support this cause. So I think it also helps tighten this community and shows us, you know, that's normal and natural. For you, Gail, why do you think it stays within advocacy circles, and, you know, what something that maybe we can do to kind of take it out of these circles?
So coming to my experience, me being me, I always have to. So, let's take my country for instance, in Ghana. I think it's difficult not to keep it with people who are pro-choice, because the stigma around abortion is out of this world. So even though Ghana is like one of the most liberal countries in Africa when it comes to abortion, like you can legally get an abortion, there is very little education about it. So people still think, the general populace still think they still think of abortion in terms of like all the negativity around it. It's murder, it's a sin, because this is a country that is like heavily Christianized. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm sure you get it.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of Christians, so there's a whole, it's a sin, it's murder and things. I remember when I actually got this job, and I called my mom and I told her that, oh, so I've gotten a new job. It's a dream job actually. And she asked me what it is. Then I told her. She was quiet on the phone for a bit. Then her next question was, do I think this is in line with my Christian beliefs? So that's just how like a lot of people think in terms of abortion. So even though I have a big platform on TikTok where I share abortion information and all that, mostly for like people in Africa and all that, and it's still a bit difficult for me to talk about it with normal people. if the conversation comes up, if I'm in a group of people and the conversation comes up, yeah, I'm not going to shut up. But there's still so much, I don't know, shame and stigma and all that attached to it that I can only bring it up if I'm around a certain group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to gauge, people going to be open? Are they going to be receptive? Also, I have a bit of social anxiety. So if I'm not behind the camera, I'm not in front of a camera, and I have to talk one on one, like face to face to a person. Now I have to think, okay, how is this person going to receive this? Are they going to shout at me? Are they going to insult me? So these are all thoughts, and I think it also plays into us advocates not widening our advocacy to like the normal people who are already not pro-choice and
Mm-hmm.
pro-life. I said pro-life because I don't think anti-choices are pro-life. They are just anti-choice. They just hate that we have this choice. I think if
Yeah.
you are pro-choice, you are pro-life because you actually know the value of life, and then you also respect somebody's choice. So yeah, I've spoken a lot, but I'm sure I'm getting my points across.
No, it's fine. And I think, what Gail mentioned is something that I don't know in your cases, Jertza and Lucia, that sometimes, I don't know if this happens to you too, that you kind of gauge who you can talk to and how much you can share about your abortion advocacy and how much you can share about your work. You kind of see like, oh, I can be more open to this person about this, or oh, I have to kind of change the words I use so that, we don't start a very uncomfortable conversation. So I think that that's something that might happen, which actually goes into the next question I had for both of you. And it's, what are the biggest barriers to engaging the general public in abortion rights advocacy? Gail mentioned some barriers, but for both of you, what are some barriers that these people might face?
So for us, it's like one significant barrier is that many people don't feel really empowered enough to speak up. Um, Abortion rights advocacy often feels like a serious, closed off community. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so essential to make the topic more relatable and more accessible to people. And we do that through pop culture references, I mean, on our social media, because we are from the comms team, so we do that, and from the messaging that speaks, to everyday life, through, we post memes about abortion rights, we post different topics that are connected to the abortion rights, and we also organize and mobilize by creating WhatsApp groups and different chats on WhatsApp, and we are trying to provide tools for people to create events there, and we are trying to invite people to speak on the topic and encourage people to participate, and yeah, people respond to that, and the biggest thing is speaking from our heart and from what we believe in, not just some polished speeches, but actually what we believe. And yeah, I think the biggest barriers are the stigma about abortion, all the misinformation that people get, fear of backlash or political polarization, and lack of awareness, actually,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Yeah.
And I agree with that. And I think, at least with our volunteers, we see that there's power in numbers. One person alone is very scared to go on a stand and talk about reproductive rights. If you have a friend with you that's willing to back you up, it's different. But we also have to realize we're speaking from a European perspective. So we have a public that generally agrees with it, and it's quite different, and you face different barriers in different parts of the world. That's why we perhaps don't have the same stigma. Like, it still exists, but in a different kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like thinking about, because I think we're all in different areas. Gail's in Africa, both of you are in Europe. I'm in Latin America. I think stigma. The thing is, it's crazy because stigma is everywhere. You would think that maybe different regions have kind of a different approach. And while some places might have less stigma than others, it still exists. And like Gail mentioned, here in Latin America, I think one of the biggest factors also is religion. And even if you're not practicing a religion, you still kind of have that ideology in your head of like, oh, but, should I do this or should I do that? And I think coupled with the fact that, abortions, I think, at least in Latin America, and I think most of the world, sexual education is lacking. There is very, very like few places that give sex education that's actually comprehensive and
Mm-hmm.
quality, and it talks about not only contraceptions and preventing pregnancy, but also about STIs, about consent, and abortion should be included in that too. And if we don't even talk about abortion kind of in a way of taking care of our health and making sure that we know what a safe abortion looks like and how we can avoid an unsafe abortion, then it's very hard for us to break down these barriers because, it has to be a part of the conversation. And I think something that I mentioned before with Gail is that unfortunately, when discussing abortion, I think everybody kind of does it from a different point of view. So some might do it from a legislative point of view, some from a social, some from a religious one, some from morals. And then it's very hard for opposing point of views to kind of understand each other because we're looking at it through different lenses, which is, I think, another barrier. For you, Gail, what are some barriers, apart from the ones you mentioned before, but what are some barriers to engaging the general public in abortion rights advocacy?
I think it's similar to yours. There's no sex education in Ghana. I mean, my introduction to like any form was in biology, and the only thing they taught us was the body parts. That's basically it. There's nothing. So sex in general is sort of like a taboo. So it's happening, but don't talk about it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't come out openly and talk about it. If you talk about it, you get side eyes and you are judged and you are shamed and they tag you with like all these names. So they see sex itself as a taboo. So now even to move from there to even talk about contraception, talk about condoms, talk about all the types of contraceptives and then move to abortion. That's like I think it's a big leap for the people in my country.
Mm-hmm.
So I've said it on here before. I get a lot of hate messages on my TikTok account.
Mm.
So I had to permanently like lock my DM. I do not receive DM again because I remember somewhere last year when I had to take about 3 or 4 months break from TikTok because it got so bad for my mental health. So people don't even want to know, like they don't want to be educated. So there's no zeal for, oh, I want to know. Even though the government says it's legal, you can do it, there's still a lot of misinformation. One, there's stigma, there's shame for those who have actually gone ahead to have the abortion,
Mm-hmm.
there's provider bias. So even though it's available in like a lot of hospitals and clinics, people still tend to do unsafe abortions because they don't want anybody to even know that they are considering having an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And Ghanaians, I don't want to say Africans, I generally don't like to generalize, but I think we take the gender stereotypes to like a crazy level. Like people just don't want to let go of it. So as a woman, you're just supposed to have kids. So why are you even considering an abortion? They don't, even if it's a 15-year-old, it's a 16-year-old, they would rather this baby gives birth to another baby than to go through an abortion. So people just don't want to consider it at all in my part of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those examples of if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist for many people. But unfortunately, it does exist. And if we don't talk about it, it can be unsafe, which is one of the really big issues, making sure that people can have access to it and that it's safe and that, ideally it's legal and that it can protect people and give them bodily autonomy and, the right to choose what's best for them. Now, I think we all mentioned before at the beginning that we're all communications and design queens here on this chat. And one of the questions that I have is how can we effectively communicate that abortion is healthcare to a wider audience. I know My Voice, My Choice, like we mentioned, does an amazing job at this, because I think you're not only reaching advocates and people who already know this, but you're reaching everyone else and changing their mindset. So, what are some things that have helped you effectively communicate abortion to this wider audience?
Okay. So, as we mentioned, like Europe is also quite diverse. So, in some countries like Malta and Poland, they're quite conservative. So, they have a different approach. We try to tackle that also with different national accounts. But on our main account, we try to connect with people in a way that they want to connect with us. So, we meet them where they are. That usually means that after you come from work, you don't want to be scrolling and get full information from your phone. Like, we don't use it. We use our phones to look at memes, to laugh, have fun. And that's why for us it's been really crucial to like use pop culture, create memes, and in a sort of kind of light-hearted way connect with people and then slowly introduce them to the information, you know, because that's the easiest way to meet people where they are. For us it's also important for the offline action. So like we distributed flyers in bars, we have earrings, we have merch, and we try to get it to places where people spend their free time, where they're open to new ideas and so forth. So also with these kind of casual posts, it's much more easier to send them to your friends, to share them. Like if you laugh at a meme, you will send it to your friend, he will laugh too, she will laugh. And it's much easier to introduce these serious topics in a lighthearted way. So you kind of test the battlefield before you go on it, you know?
Yeah. We really try to focus on the really like shareable posts, because if people, you know, feel like sharing, they will, and they can, you know, our initiative can reach many people. We are, I can say, really successful by doing that. We have right now more than 68 million views on our social media, on our Instagram, My Voice, My Choice. We have more than, I think, 20 million reach. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. And yeah, I think it's important that we also post about different, different medical facts about abortion in each country. So in each country in European Union, and you know, also do the pop culture posts and memes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So pop culture is the shot, and then informational is the chaser.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's great. No, I think like Gail can probably attest to this, but also on Safe to Choose and How to Use. I don't know if this happens to both of you, but there are times where you like really work hard on an informational post and you research and you do so much research and you think, oh, this post is amazing.
Yeah.
And then something that takes 2 minutes to create goes viral and you're like, oh, I'm glad, but
It happens every day, so many times, and yeah, it's just what it is.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
what it is. But I think that's a really great approach. And also, I think it helps to normalize the conversation on abortions, you know, because sometimes it does seem, for some people, it could be scary because what they're taught isn't something that's like it's a normal thing. So I think talking it in reference to pop culture and to memes and to like short form content, it helps to normalize it. And like both of you mentioned, you know, it's very shareable content that's like, oh, I want to share this with my family, and it could be something super short. And then you share it and you're like, this is something that I want everyone to know. So I think that's a really great approach. For you, Gail, what has How to Use experience been with, in regards of communicating that abortion is healthcare?
I mean, I love My Voice, My Choice, but it's you can also tell from like we are different basically. So we are more informational and we want people to come to us for this information. But I still really love that you said you this phrase, you try to meet people where they are. It's going to stick with me now, and I'm going to try to sort of like create content around that. I really love it. But for us, even though we do still use like pop culture and we try to create some shareable content, I feel like Vianney said, for the post that you actually sit down and you brainstorm and you're trying to get things right, you barely do well. So you get about 20, 40 likes, and then it's just a random post. Like you jump on a TikTok trend and suddenly you have 40, 100K plus views. And sometimes it's amazing. But I think our mission, our content creation, our content strategies is linked to our KPIs, is linked to like our mission, is linked to our vision. And what my voice, my choice does works so perfectly because of what they've set out to do. And I don't think I don't go three scrolls on my IG feed without seeing a post from you.
Yeah.
And I always love it. They are always so fun. And I love your approach. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going to steal a couple of them as inspo.
As
Fair warning.
is that like feeling is the highest form of flattery?
Yeah.
And no, and I think it's great too because I think regardless, we kind of do have a different audience sometimes. So it's interesting too to see what people from what country react to what they like. Some regions really like memes, some don't. So like I can say that in Latin America, we love cartoons. We love anything that's like really cute and really like colorful. And then there are other regions that are like, no, I don't want anything that's like super girly and colorful and everything. So it's always interesting to see that mix of content. Um, so I also like in line with this, I kind of want to ask you both, what strategies have been successful in expanding support for safe and accessible abortions? And I know that both of you kind of have this vision from Europe, but what has worked for you?
Um, I would say I would say we started this movement by just creating different social medias, different channels. And also the big thing was to just invite people, to support us, to share our initiative. Big thing was also working with influencers, writing them and asking them if they, would support this cause. That was a big thing. And also getting volunteers. We had so many volunteers, amazing volunteers who went to the streets and collected signatures for at so many events and in so many countries and cities. And also teaming up with different movements, with different organizations. I think we had more than 300 organizations that helped us share our initiative. And we also did action days. So if anything was, for example, the International Women's Day, we did the whole like a big action day where we posted so many posts about that, and people know that it's International Women's Day and they share our content and they want to read about it, how it is connected to abortion rights. And I think that was really important. And also all the powerful posts, videos we do, we always try to think what would resonate with our audience. And yeah, if anything big happens, we try to seize the moment and try to connect it to what we do. And I think people like to read about it. And yeah, I think that's the most important part, because that's how we reach audience. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that.
And it's also important to not think of like communication as this one big miracle. It's like a bunch of little things, a bunch of little steps that keep you moving forward. And sometimes you have a bad week, sometimes you have a good week, but you just have to keep on going and the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I think what really stands
Be
out,
consistent. Yeah.
yeah, and what stands out for me with both of you and what you've been mentioning this whole time is very much community building. I love that you have this very big approach on community building, whether it be with your audience as users online, with volunteers going directly in person to get the people who are signing, the influencers who collaborate with you, the network with abortion organizations, maybe other organizations. And I think it's this really beautiful testament on how every little support and every little, every person counts. We can't make a big group unless we have like a lot of individual people, which I think is really lovely. And I think it just shows how much people actually care about abortion access and access to reproductive rights. and it's universal. I think, like we mentioned at the beginning, sometimes people might be shy because they've never really spoken about this, but they know that they're pro-choice. Once you give them, the kind of the open door, like, hey, like we got your back, come here and talk with us about this, and they'll realize that there's a bigger community who will support them and be there with them. And I think,
Exactly.
yeah, of course. And I think, do you have anything else that you'd like to comment on this, Gail? Anything that kind of like raised inspiration with what they mentioned?
All right, now I think they covered it, and you've also covered it. I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Now, focusing a bit on my voice, my choice. Both of you really mentioned this, so I just kind of want to use this question to compile like your, everything. But how does my voice, my choice work to advance reproductive rights?
So yeah, at the start we were just like collecting signatures, but as you mentioned before, now we have like all of these people writing to us, and we can safely say we created like a movement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just an act, it's much more. It's each person that talks to their friends at a bar, who talks to their
Mm-hmm.
family. And for us, it's like our advocacy, I think, is in creating a sort of global movement where we're raising awareness for this topic and just speaking about it and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully dismantling some of the stigma. So, yeah, we're trying to educate, empower, and all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's like the thing I'm most proud of, that it's not just us making social media posts, but it's actual people creating
Mm-hmm.
real connection and like real friends from it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's mostly it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love this because I know sometimes if I talk about communications, I feel like you kind of see things in numbers and analytics, and then no, like the truth is that there are people behind everything that's happening. It's not just like user 1 2 3 4. Like it's a bunch of people who have lives, who have individual experiences. In our cases, I can say that Safe to Choose gets a lot of DMs. I'm imagining that both of you get a lot of DMs too, and we have abortion counselors who support people. And our counselors are this first contact with everyone, and they hear their stories, they hear the reasons why they choose to have an abortion, they support them in areas that maybe their country or their inner circle is lacking in giving them support. So I think it's just really nice to see that we're creating communities, or we're helping engage communities that can help each other and support each other. Gail, for you, how to use, like, what has your experience been with community building and how to use?
I don't want to bite myself here, but um I think Ali is our community builder, like basically. So if you don't know of um Ali is a safe abortion chatbot. So we have Ali automated on Instagram. Ali is also automated on Facebook and WhatsApp and on our websites as well. So we do get a lot of DMs. There are times that myself I try to go into the DMs and I try to go through the comment section to try and attend to people, especially on TikTok. And yeah, I think it's amazing what we are all building because, like Viviani already shared, when you work in comms, you are always thinking about, okay, how many views am I getting for this post? How many reach did I get for this post? Did this bring us any followers? If we spent on ad, like how much did we get in return? But sometimes we forget that besides the numbers we are making like real impact.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just if it's just even one person seeing your post and liking it, they saw something resonated with them. That's why they made the move, they reacted the way they did. So yeah, I think in general we are doing pretty great with Ali again.
And I
Yeah.
think I've said this with Gail before, but I really like this conversation we have on Unapologetically Uterine, because I think that sometimes you see accounts, but you don't know the faces or the people behind them. And then, like, again, like we're really big fans of My Voice, My Choice, but we have never seen your faces. We didn't know your names. And now we see two absolutely beautiful people who are so smart and intelligent. And I think that's what I feel connects with the audience too, because they're like, oh, like you're the mastermind behind all of it. That's really cool. Like you're just flesh and blood like myself. So I think that's, well, personally, something I love when I get to speak with other organizations. So I think we kind of talked about this a bit, but I just want to ask you, Jertza and Lucia, if you have any advice on how individuals who aren't traditionally involved in reproductive rights can contribute to activism on abortions.
I would say, as I said, the simplest way to contribute is just talking to others. We actually started this movement, by just talking to people, and also just bring these issues to into everyday conversations. I think that's the most important. Also, personal stories, resonate the most. We all know that, and just we try to encourage people to just not be do not be afraid to share their perspective, and yeah, we know that people just want to hear relatable stories that they can connect with, and also I think everyone can contribute with, sharing our initiative, sharing our cause with people, whether it's with their friends, family, their followers, also by donating or just, talking openly with people to reduce some stigma. And yeah, I'd say that's the most important thing for individuals, to contribute. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like talking, asking questions, and not being too afraid to mess something up,
Yeah.
Like just being open is the best thing you can do. We're all scared sometimes.
Yeah,
but
and we're not perfect, so yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, ignorance is not a bad thing. I think not wanting to improve your knowledge might be something that we do need to make better. And I think, like I mentioned before, we all, obviously we all consider ourselves pro-choice and pro-abortion, and we probably all learned more as we began working on this, and we're probably gonna shift our views and have better views like in 5 years and 10 years in 1 month. So it's always good to evolve and to learn more. Now, I want to ask this for Gail, and then I'll go to both of you. But Gail, what role does misinformation and stigma play in limiting public support for abortion rights?
Oof, a lot of negative roles because I think that, so we are always talking about one of the most important things. If you set out to be an advocate, even if not an advocate, you just want to be like a support person, a support partner for like someone who is going through an abortion. One thing that's very important is that you always stay informed, and staying informed means you'll be relying on accurate information.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing where to go for information, because the thing is, there's a lot of misinformation about abortion, the process itself, about what it will do to you, about how to even use the pills,
Mm-hmm.
about all the types of abortion that is out there, feelings after abortion. People share all sorts of things just to propagate their anti-choice propaganda and ideals and all that. So this in turn brings more harm, because there are lots of people out there who want to have an abortion, but they are so scared because of the misinformation. So they don't know where to turn to because they've heard all these things, and because of that, people choose motherhood because they don't even know their options. And when they know their options, they also don't have the right information. So they just go ahead and be in a situation that if they had all the facts presented to them, they probably wouldn't be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And besides this, it's also causing a lot of unsafe abortions, because some people are legit using the wrong pills, the abortions. Some people get the pills, but then the steps, the instructions they are taking to take the pills is totally wrong. There are people who don't even know that you should not use a menstrual cup or a tampon when you are bleeding during an abortion because of misinformation. So it's very important that if you decide that, okay, I'm going to have an abortion, you make sure that you have all the information that you need to have from reliable sources. You don't have to, I don't know, put yourself into a box with the one place. I mean, you can go to Safe to Choose, you can go to How to Use Abortion Pill, you can go to Plan C, you can go to Carafep. There are just so many places
Mm.
that can help you. And if you're just looking for general information on abortion, just to be educated, you can also go to My Voice, My Choice. And their page is just amazing. So you're going to learn while having fun as well. So I think it's just important generally that people are informed, because misinformation and stigma can cause a lot of harm.
Mm-hmm. No, of course. I think Gail covered it really well. But
Yeah,
Yelitza and Lucia,
sure.
is there anything else both of you would like to add to to what Gail said?
Not really. She said everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
passionate advocate. That's why we love
I,
her.
I, I said all the words.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask both of you, Jess and Lucia, how can media and storytelling be used to shift public perception on abortion? You know, like we said, like the great phrase that both of you said, you kind of meet people in the middle. But how else, you know, have you been able to shift this perception on abortion?
Yeah, sure. So, storytelling is one of the most powerful tools we have. As we mentioned before, the personal aspect is key because people, more than with information, although it's really important, resonate with stories. They resonate with
Mm-hmm.
people. And if they hear like a story of a person close to them, it can change their perspective. And then and that's like crucial for dismantling myths, fighting the stigma. It's just people close to you, willing to open up, willing to talk, and willing to be uncomfortable just for the fact that they
Mm-hmm.
can change the world with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite short.
No, but it's a really great answer. It's a perfect answer and kind of a self plug. But Gail and I have an episode on storytelling. So if anybody's watching this and wants to see it, we have it on YouTube for completely.
Perfect.
But now just going to something that ties into the work that both of you do at My Voice, My Choice. But what policies or legal changes are most urgently needed to ensure abortion access?
So right now, I would say we are living in times where women's rights are under attack. We can say that. We can just look at the what's happening in the U.S. Right now in the recent months, and things are like women's rights are actually being rolled back.
Mm-hmm.
We can all agree to that, and this is isn't just happening in the U.S. It's
Mm-hmm.
also beginning to we can see that also in Europe, in European countries. We are, facing similar crises. We see that in Poland, women don't really have access to abortions, and also in Malta, women can go to prison, if
Mm-hmm.
they try to access abortion. Also in Italy, doctors can, object to performing abortions. Or in Hungary, they actually need to listen to their fetal's heartbeat before accessing abortion, which is, not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we believe our European Commission initiative is crucial. It proposes financial assistance
Mm-hmm.
for women who need to travel to access abortion. So even if it's not legal in their country,
Mm-hmm.
they can travel and to different countries and access safe, legal, and free abortion. This is what our 8C proposes. And yeah, I think legal changes and policy changes are really needed urgently,
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that abortion remains safe and accessible for everyone, no matter where they live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like we often in Europe see ourselves as really distant from that. Like abortion here is legal in most places, but like
Mm,
just the case from Poland happening a
Yeah.
few days ago when a politician stormed
yep.
into the hospital where a woman was performing abortions. Like we love to think that we're so far ahead, but in reality, we aren't, there are still women, like 20 million women in Europe who cannot access abortion, you know. It's
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
it's really crucial for us that this our HC really goes through, and every woman can access safe abortion.
No, of course, yeah. And the thing is that the example about the United States that's mentioned, the United States basically had abortion access protected, and then it regressed, it rolled back because
Yeah.
of Roe v. Wade. So even if we think that in our country abortion is legal, we don't have to do anything. Unfortunately, no rights were given. We still have to advocate for it, even if it's legal. And I can say, because I'm in Mexico, it was decriminalized, I think, in 2023. So technically, you can't go to jail because of this, but there are still a lot of limits and a lot of stigma. And even in places where you can legally access an abortion, like there are doctors who can object to giving
Yep.
abortions. There are clinics who can say no. People might not be able to travel to another
Yeah.
state because of financial barriers, which is why tools like yours are so important. And I think because we are the neighbor of the U.S., unfortunately, anything that culturally happens over there comes down to Mexico. Anything that happens to Mexico goes down to the other country. So hopefully, all the countries and the regions unite because it's so important that we advance it. In your case, Gail, in the context of Ghana and, Africa, is there anything that you'd like to mention in regards to like policies that need to be implemented?
So Ghanaians and Nigerians always joke that we are like a brother and sister. So when I think about it, abortion is very liberal in Ghana. I mean, you can get it for social reasons. No one is holding you back. You're not going to be, I don't know, you're not going to be penalized legally for it as long as you are within the limits. But even with that, like you mentioned, as it happens in Mexico, there's still provider bias. So you can walk into a clinic, you can walk into a hospital, even though you are entitled to it. The provider is also entitled to tell you that they're not going to perform it. And you don't have an option but to walk away. So you either find a provider who will, or people just resort to unsafe abortions. So even though it's it's okay to go get it, I think so many people are so focused on providers not agreeing to it that in a lot of people's heads, I can't get it. If I walk into a hospital, I can't get it. I'm not going to get it because the providers there are also making these decisions based on their religions, their
Mm-hmm.
morals, and their values. So they keep rejecting people, and now in people's heads, or I cannot go to a hospital to get an abortion, even though it's written in law. So I think for me, we need a lot more education
Mm-hmm.
for people to know that this is something that if you're a woman who can get pregnant in Ghana, you're entitled to, you can get. And you should be able to get it anywhere. But Ghana is the only liberal country like in West Africa. When you go to the other countries in West Africa, it's amazing. So in Nigeria, it's fully illegal. I mean, there's no way that you're a Nigerian woman and then you could get an abortion, which also contributes to the number of unsafe abortions in the region because the population in Nigeria is it's a heavily populated place and there are lots of women, there are lots of young women, and the cases of assault of all forms perpetrated on women is also at an all-time high. So whenever I think about it in that perspective, misogyny, patriarchy, and men believing that they can have their way with women in Nigeria, it's mind bustling. When you chance on Nigerian Twitter, you probably get so mad and delete your Twitter. The way the men talk about women in the country, the way they treat them, and then when I think about the fact that women there don't even have access to abortion, if you are unfortunately violated. So I think Africa in a whole, we just have to look at more education on abortion
Mm-hmm.
and also more legalization. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, but I'm really looking forward to the day when the countries around us are going to I mean, just they should give just a little inch. You at least say, okay, if your life is at stake, we are going to give it to you. But in this case, it says no. You just cannot have an abortion. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to legal changes in the laws around abortion in general. And for my country, Ghana, there's already a legal change. So I just want more education for people to know that abortion is healthcare, abortion is self-care, abortion is normal, it is common, and there's nothing wrong with you for wanting an abortion. It is your right as a woman, as a person who can get pregnant, to want not to be pregnant in the moment. Why is that so hard for the government to understand? Please. Ah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Totally
perfect.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think also, it is hard and it is difficult, but I also see a lot of regions who like totally banned abortion, and then now like abortion is now legal and accessible, and although it does have some barriers, it's gotten better. So I do have faith that even though we're all in different regions and different continents, abortion will get better. Yes, fingers crossed that it will be better. So we're coming to the end of our live stream. We have one question left. We've learned so much from both of you, so thank you so much for sharing all this information and your insights and your knowledge, because I think at the end of the day, we all have the same mission, making sure people can have a safe abortion if they choose so. So that's so important. But my last question for both of you is, what are some tips for other organizations to make their campaigns as successful as yours, and general things that others can learn from your expertise?
I would say, just, as I said so many times, talk to people, build a sense of community around the cause you are trying to talk about, and stay consistent. For us, we're from the comms team. We do posts every weekend, every holiday. So, consistency, I think, is the key. And also, authenticity is also the key. Speak from the heart, speak for like what you believe in. And people want to connect with real stories, so try to show that. Also go to the streets, and go to the people, and maybe they will also try to help you, volunteer for you, and just listen to people and start conversations, and maybe you can change their minds. And also our thing is we try to include all generations, not just
Yeah.
young people. So we work also with older people, young people, teenagers, all kinds of people. And working with influencers has shown us it's smart to do that, because they have a big audience. And I would say that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that it's okay to fail.
Mm.
Like we so often get like once we have one little fail, we think we're done, but that's not the truth. Even in our campaign, we had many down
Yeah.
moments, and it's important to accept them and keep pushing forward and
Yeah.
like the consistency.
Yes, I love that. And we're all from comms and design, so we know that, even if there are days that are very heavy and hard and, bad things are happening around the world, we have to keep on going because it's the only way that we can move forward. But I think both of you have been so
Of course.
inspirational, and like I mentioned, both of you have given us such great tips, and anybody who's listening, can get these tips and understand that, like what you mentioned, it's okay to fail, it's okay to change,
Yeah.
it's okay to do a bunch of things, but we're learning and we're growing. And of course, I think staying connected, reaching out to each other, supporting each other in our campaigns and our content, and sharing resources, I think is so important. But
Of course.
yeah, like I mentioned, we're at the end of our live stream. So we want to, first of all, thank both of you for being here. It was a great and lovely conversation. And also give you the space to share your social media, your website. Is there any project that you would like for people to know about? Any specific thing that you would like to share? Please do so.
Okay, so it's been mentioned more times, but you can follow us on Instagram. It's my voice, my choice org, and now our communication will shift a little because we're moving into the second part of our campaign. Just today, we handed in the signatures and closed off the signature collection. So now you can look forward to different types of content.
Yeah.
We will still try to advocate about
Yeah.
abortion things, but yeah, we will also do other stuff and come and join us and see what we do.
That's perfect. No, and we will be following. We will love to see the how the campaign is evolving. Gail, any final remarks from you and resources for how to use that you want to share?
Hi guys, as always, if you want to support your partner, you want to support a loved one, if you yourself need information, you've gotten the pills, but you don't know how to use it, you don't know what to expect when you take the pills, head over to our website at htuabortionpill.org. You can also talk to Ali on WhatsApp. You can send us a DM on our Instagram, HTU Abortion Pill, and start to chat with Ali there. Ali is our Safe Abortion chatbot and it's available 24/7. Ali speaks different languages, so you can be very comfortable and yeah, just speak to Ali. Also, not leaving out providers, we have something for the medical providers.
Mm.
If you want to know how to provide person centered care, for someone who has come to you and is going through a medical abortion, you can also go to our website at howtouseabortionpill.org and sign up for our free medical abortion providers course that is FIGO certified and is also approved by IPPF. So you can take this yourself. If you know someone who is a medical provider, you can also share this resource with them. Again, it's free. The economy is so hard, so you need to take chance of like anything that does not let you take out of your wallet. We are in a capitalist world, babes. We need to support each other, so head over there. But you can find us on all social media platforms at ATU Abortion Pill. Don't forget, you can always speak to Ali, irrespective of your location and the time, because he's always available for you. Um, yeah, me, safe to choose.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Gail. We're Safe to Choose. You can go to our website at safetochoose.org. We have a really great service, which is our abortion counselors. And if you need support or somebody to chat with before, during, and after your abortion, please feel free to reach out to them. Again, like Gail mentioned, they are free abortion counselors, so please take advantage of this service. And we have regional counselors who speak different languages: English, Spanish, French, Tagalog, Hindi, Swahili. I'm forgetting the other ones, but there are 11 languages in total. And we have also our abortion protocol. So if you need information, and it's not even only just for people who are having an abortion, if you're a person who can get pregnant, or if you're a partner, somebody who can get pregnant, please feel free to look at the information and just see everything. We also have a really great toolkit for abortion providers. And if you are an abortion provider and you want to be part of the Safe to Choose network, feel free to reach out to us because we're connecting people all around the globe to support each other. But yes, like we mentioned, thank you so much to both of you for this conversation. It was really lovely, and like I said this before, but I love seeing the faces behind the content, the ideas, the pages. So yes, thank you so much for everything.
It was nice talking to you.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah,
you.
thank you, everyone.
Likewise.